Hello and welcome to another episode of Hello Friend News Broadcast. I am your host, Malika Critchlow. So we did not do a podcast yesterday, which is Friday. I've been trying to do Monday and Friday, but I wasn't really feeling aligned to. I'm trying to be true to myself and follow my hearts and joys. So my heart's desires and my joys. So I wasn't really feeling it yesterday. I thought, well, maybe today a new idea will come, and I have. I've been feeling to do it since this morning. Please excuse the crazy hair. I'm having quite a morning, and this is me sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes this is how I roll. I feel good. So I'm going to continue to just do what feels good to me, as long as it's not harming anyone else. So today I was thinking of, usually we do news in the US or um sometimes the Middle East or Europe, but I was thinking maybe we need to look at the other continents and do a little more of um a global perspective. So today, the three stories I'm going to feature, I think, are probably not current news, but I think it's relevant. So, of course, we still have stuff going on with the protests here, in response to what's going on in the Middle East. I've done takeaways on that in the other podcast episodes. Don't think I really have more to add to it, except probably conversations would, diplomatic conversations on either side or whatever would stem or have more activity if understanding is displayed on both sides for both sides' views. I think also being able to see if one side is hypothetically has not cleared their trauma and is responding in trauma to others in order to feel better or feel safer, feel more secure, acknowledging that and not assisting in them harming others due to their own trauma. So let's say on an individual basis, there's domestic violence, right? Let's put it that way. And the individual that is the perpetrator of the domestic violence, if we look at their history, we'd see that they probably experienced this in their past. This is how they learn to process trauma or their emotions. Probably never learned to process trauma or go to therapy or healing to understand why their response is such, right? At the same time, while being aware of that, right? Supporting individuals would want to help that person get therapy, but also not assist them in harming others more, right? So just because you know why a person is the way they are doesn't excuse their behavior and doesn't help to assist them to put this trauma on another. So I think maybe the global response needs to take a look at that and how they're assisting in this trauma being repeated. So I think maybe that's all I have to add to that. But yeah, there's not much to add to what's going on there. Um, it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation. It's a lot of heated responses and reactions that are probably justified. But hopefully we can have some more conversations and understandings and help to those that need it. Okay, so today I was going to focus on, let me share my screen. So the first good news story we're going to do, I was looking at, oh my God, the sighting of many blue whales around the seashells is first in decades. Phenomenal is what it says. And again, I am on the wonderful website of goodnewsnetwork.org. It shares a lot of good news as the world needs right now. So this is really great news. The seashells has become a major tourist destination for beachgoing and scuba diving, but it's not only humans that are beginning to flock to the island. In what marine biologists have described as a phenomenal finding, a survey of whales around the territorial waters of the archipelagic nation revealed the presence of blue whales, over a dozen. This is the first time they've been seen in these warm seas since 1966. This, the same suggests, means that they have probably never been seen before, which for a species that big might seem strange, but along with there being only 5,000 to 15,000 on Earth, they migrate vast distances while diving deep, making recording their movements incredibly challenging. The survey identified 23 whale species in total using the hydroponic mics over 2 years, with peak activity coming between December and April. This is a fascinating finding that suggests something about the seas around the Seychelles makes for excellent whale habitat. This is great news. Mm-mm. Oh, we were prepared to not see any blue whales due to the high level of hunting that occurred fairly recently, and absolutely no information was available since the last blue whale was killed in the region in 1964. Why do people kill blue whales? What is it that they got from it how is it a resource? Oh, really sad. Anyways, I'm glad that they are coming back, and hopefully there are laws now that they can't hunt them. Yeah, so that's great news. So in the fearfully news, or the news that we can look at, maybe chaotic and get some wisdom from, I was going to take a look at Haiti. So for those that don't know, Haiti is having a rough time right now. Well, they've been tumultuous, I think, up and down since they gained their freedom. The first Caribbean island to gain their freedom via revolt from slavery, um, from France, I believe. And ever since it's been um a process for them to find consistency, I would say, a level of consistency. Um, I think being the first may have given people other islands a blueprint of how to do it, but also in ways to improve upon gaining their freedom. And they weren't willing to wait for it, right? I think they're fighting for it, and the revolt kind of sent shockwaves and probably some sort of retribution of not wanting them to succeed would have existed, I believe, right? So, well, recently, what occurred recently is that I believe they assigned a new prime minister on May 1st. The prime minister they assigned was Fritz Belizaire as prime minister. And they were saying many Haitians were taken aback with this declaration, unexpected political alliance. Their last prime minister resigned in is it in March? No. When did their last prime minister resign? Okay, so the last prime minister was Prime Minister Ariel Henry, and he recently resigned. It doesn't say when. Henry was on an official visit to Kenya to push the UN-backed deployment of a police force from the East African country when gangs in Haiti launched coordinated attacks starting February 29th. They have burned police stations, opened fire on the main international airport that remains closed since early March, and stormed Haiti's two biggest prisons, releasing more than 4,000 inmates. The violence continues unabated in certain parts of Port-au-Prince, including the area around the National Palace. So why this occurred, I don't know. I think there are fighting political parties and people aligned with different parties and choosing violence as a way to sort things out, which in the long run, I don't think sorts things out, right? We have to look at kind of sabotages their work. So this looks to me like what we can learn from this is the work starts with self, even though there are external factors that contribute to the trauma, that you do have to look at yourself and not sabotage yourself, not go back to behaviors that do not help you, behaviors that are defense mechanisms, that don't really get to the root of the problem, and really take a look at yourself and look at how you're contributing to the situation. Although external factors have assisted, you also have to take accountability for yourself. And once you start taking stock of that and choosing what's best for you, what's love to you, what's healthy for you, then this would then reflect in your external. So on the individual level, I think we could take this from this collective level view, right? So yeah, because if you go back further down in the thing, they spoke to a 57-year-old electrician named Jean-Cel Say, who noted that most of the council members are longtime politicians. Their past is not really positive. So, it looks like it's just a repeating cycle of people in power that don't really have the best interest at heart for the whole, for the collective, but more self-interest probably. So he says, I hope their mentality can change, but I don't believe it will. He said, they don't really love the country. Who's dying right now? It's Haitians like me. Robert Faton, a Haitian politics expert at the University of Virginia noted that some of the parties represented on the council are responsible for the current chaos in Haiti. So it's the same thing over and over again, the same people in power, the same political factions. And so it'll keep repeating. It doesn't matter if anyone comes in to help. It has to be the choice of the people. The people will have to some way, I don't know how, find a way to put people in place that want to do well for all. This, I don't even know. Of course, this will come with some pushback with those that want to just take care of the few in the South that are into power and just gaining resources. But I don't think hope is ever lost. I think, like, there's going to be some trust in the universe that, if the people do decide on someone or a group of people that really have the country's best interests at heart, that in some way, if it's for the highest good of all, that it would stand to be protected. But yes, on an individual level, yes, I think we can look at it from the aspect of looking at ourselves, taking stock of ourselves, and choosing the best for ourselves, right? And not just allowing others to dictate what's best for us, and finding ways in difficult situations to find our sovereignty and not be at the hands, the mercy of others. So on collective level, this is really hard because what will have to happen is it will have to occur individually first before it occurs collectively. And if you are in a position of overwhelming obstacles, sometimes it's hard to see the light. So I hope everyone is able to find their light, man, and that love for themselves, and hope it unfolds beautifully for them. Because this is not an easy track, it's a hard track, especially when you decide to have your own sovereignty, which is what the country decided. They decided that their sovereignty was what matters, and the rest of the world was like, no. So yeah, really, really have a lot to fight through to get to the next side, but I believe that they can, as I believe that I can, as I believe that everyone can, with enough love for yourself. All starts from there. So lots of love to Haiti and finding their stasis, their happy place, Okay, I wanted to also share some of the beautiful pics of Haiti. This is my favorite. The baby getting a little bath, his mother's hand steadying him and giving him the love and care that he wants, and he's just accepting it. How beautiful is that? But some more pics we can take a look at. Woman with 2 children carries belongings as residents of the Lower Delmas flee their homes due to gang violence on May 2nd, 2024. Police officer stands guard in the street, May 1st. An 18-year-old listening to the radio in a makeshift tent. Life still goes on, and finding ways to still. This is a classroom in a high school. People turned into a shelter. Just some images of Haiti, man. The resilience of the people that are still finding a way to live through these times. Oh, man. They still have communion? Is this communion? First, their confirmation. Wow. They are dressed to the nines. How did they ever find this? They have their gloves on and everything. Beautiful. Market, look, veggies, provisions, fruits. We still have some resources. Anyway, that's all I have for today with Haiti. Now we're going to go back to one more good news story before the podcast ends. And the story is constant. Again, we are on goodnewsnetwork.org. I really love this website for the good news that it provides. Sorry. Conservation almost always provides incredible results. First of its kind reports shows. Looking back at data from as far back as 1980, the researchers say they have produced the first ever evidence that whatever declines after are affecting nature globally, conservation work can reverse them. This is great. That means we can undo all the damage we've done if we really focus on conservation. So for the study, the author ran a meta-analysis including 186 different papers reporting on 665 different conservation trials that measured biodiversity over time and compared outcomes under conservation action with a suitable counterfactual of no action. We find that in 2/3 of the cases, conservation either improved the state of biodiversity or at least slowed decline, the author writes. Specifically, we find that interventions targeted at species and ecosystems, such as invasive species control, habitat loss reduction and restoration, protected areas, and sustainable management, are highly effective and have large effect sizes. The study provides the strongest evidence to date that not only does conservation improve the state of biodiversity and slows its decline, but when it works, it really works, said Dr. Penny Langhammer, executive co-president of Environmental Charity. In the cases where a relative negative impact was measured, wherein a targeted conservation measure was worse than doing nothing, some still produced improvements, just less than was seen from doing nothing. Even within the trials that showed absolute negative impacts, such as the case with the Australian seahorse, there was a positive effect to be observed. The seahorses' numbers declined after the creation of a marine protected area to ensure their habitat was safe. But this was because the populations of their natural predators grew larger owing to the protection and thus ate more of the seahorse. How sad. Oh my God. Woo. Conservation actions are investments rather than payments. And as our study demonstrates, they are typically investments that yield genuine high magnitude positive impacts. They conclude. Woohoo! So good news. Conservation works, guys. So this is the podcast for today. We touched lightly on the protests and how a different perspective that I haven't talked about before with how that affects an individual level, the conversations, how we can discuss things, you know. We also talked about Haiti and how on an individual level we can look at healing ourselves, even though we have been affected by external factors and traumas or been visited traumas by external factors. So healing ourselves and being left to ourselves and choosing better options for ourselves can change our outlook, and hoping that is the case for Haiti. And then we looked at blue whales, how awesome that they're now found in the seashells where they haven't been since 1966. They haven't been seen since 1966. And also how conservation helps. So that is great news. I wonder if I can find. Yeah, I mean, we can also talk about the 3,400-year-old head of King Ramses II statue returned to Egypt after theft. That's good news, right? Returning artifacts that tell us more about our Earth history, Egyptian history, of course, but extended view, human history. It was still carved 3,400 years ago. It was stolen from the Temple of Ramses in the southern Egypt side of Abydos about 30 years ago. It's now in the possession of the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities in Cairo, where it's being restored. That's awesome. The head is a part of a group of statues depicting King Ramses II seated alongside a number of Egyptian deities. So there's redemption in the world. You can always undo naughtiness. You can always undo not your best decisions and contribute more positively to the world at large. That's what I'm getting from this message. Anyway, guys, let me stop sharing. So that's the podcast for today. I hope it was helpful. If my takes are not aligned with you, I'd love to hear your takes in a respectable way, of course, because we can always learn from each other. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a great weekend and a great week. I will be back on Monday, God willing, with the podcast. So I think from now on, I'll do Monday like US news and the end of the week, probably global news, so that it's a more rounded view instead of it just looking at one part of the world. What do you guys think? All right, guys, have a great day. Remember, you are loved, you are loved. It's important that you are in this world because you make a difference just by being you, your most authentic, truest self, and following your heart's joys makes a big difference. Wishing you lots of love. Bye.